And then you realize, you know what, this Steve guy is actually pretty nice. He answered all my questions and he was very helpful and enjoyable to talk to. And then you understand exactly what I talked about in this video. Vigorous Steve here. Let's discuss the hypercritical nature of the fitness industry, because I don't think it's good for mental health. It's not good for my mental health, and it's probably also not good for your mental health. And I want to separate this video into two parts. The hypercritical way at which we look at ourselves. We always find particular flaws or things we need to improve, lagging body parts, and particular body fat areas that never seem to go away. So in that sense, we're our own worst critic. We're super hypercritical towards our appearance. And we get a little bit offended when other people are hypercritical towards us, right? Because it emphasizes the flaws that we see in ourselves. And at the same time, we're also hypercritical of others. But we don't like it when others are hypercritical of ourselves. And yet, we still hold others to incredibly high standards that we often can't live up to ourselves. And I think it's because of social media. You'll hold somebody else accountable to your incredibly high standards that we never got to converse with each other because there's a wall of separation because of social media. And when you look at the fitness industry as a whole, we're all kind of dispersed all over this planet. And the way we connect is through social media, the Instagram, the Facebook, the YouTube, or maybe WhatsApp Messenger, or Signal, or Telegram, right? So we're all in direct contact, but it's not face-to-face. There's always a bit of a wall of separation, and I feel that it's very easy to be hypercritical of others that way until you actually meet other people face-to-face, or you get into areas where people tend to gravitate to in the fitness industry. For Dubai, for example, or Kuwait, or Venice Beach, right? You have a big Gold's Gym there, where there's a huge amount of people in the fitness industry, or Las Vegas. Or even here in Bangkok, a lot of recreational bodybuilders come to Bangkok, Thailand, or Pattaya, Thailand, and enjoy many a days in the fitness industry here, albeit a bit smaller. So the hypercritical nature comes a little bit by this wall of separation that we created ourselves through social media. And we can take me as an example. I was always hypercritical of Boston Lloyd, the 13 grams of gear, and the site enhancement oil, and the experiments with DMP or other pharmacological interventions that we tend to use in bodybuilding, albeit at reasonably high dosages. I was always a little bit condescending, and I would consider Boston Lloyd to be a ticking time bomb. At one point, he would get into a negative health ramification, and he would need to discontinue these practices, which unfortunately he did get into a negative health ramification. He got kidney failure, where he has severe kidney issues, which he's actively trying to resolve. So I was always hypercritical of the guy, and now I had a 2-hour podcast with him. And I completely changed my mind. I went 180 degrees on Boston Lloyd. I consider him to be a super cool guy. Very friendly, very easy to talk to, very open about his practices, and never making excuses of what he did in the past. And unfortunately now he has to deal with that. But I feel stupid about myself, about being hypercritical of Boston Lloyd, because 2 hours with the guy on a podcast, yeah, again, he's a super friendly, super kind, and a very enjoyable guy to talk to. So after that podcast, I realized, you know what? Steve, you're 37, but you got some growing up to do. And I'm sure a lot of you will get into a similar situation at one point, where you meet somebody that you were hypercritical of, and then you meet them in real life, and then you realize, you know what? This guy is actually pretty cool. And I'll have to retract everything that I said. At one point or another, right? So look at it this way. Let's say you're your own worst critic, right? And you always find something wrong with your physique. Let's say your calves are lacking and you're actively trying to improve your calves, but you are never satisfied. And then somebody else comes up to you, somebody you've never met, whether that's on Instagram or in real life, and they just point the finger. Your calves suck. Completely undermining all of your hard work. Luckily, I don't have bad calves, but I do have other lagging body parts. In my case, in Thailand, it's never happened, but online it sometimes happens. You know, oh, Steve, your quads suck. You need to bring them up. It's not like I haven't tried, so it hurts, right? You get a little bit irritation, you know, of somebody else's hypercritical nature. But yet we do the same thing to others. We're hypercritical in the fitness industry. Your calves suck. Your quads suck. Your this and that body part sucks. But I feel, and now that I've had a little bit of a rude awakening, is that it's okay to shift towards something more positive, right? It's okay to say, bro, your arms are awesome. Bro, your quads are great when they're great. And just kind of deflect the information from what they could potentially improve unless they ask for it. So let's say you ask for somebody for advice. This is my physique right now. What do you think I can improve? And then hopefully the other person understands the predicament that you're in. So he gives you a couple compliments first and then tells you what you need to improve. That will be the ideal scenario. And you definitely don't want a yes man around you, obviously, in bodybuilding, because that will lead to what you see in the amateur circuit a lot. These guys are surrounded by yes men, and everybody tells them they have amazing shape and amazing condition, maybe amazing condition for the gym. And then they step on stage and they don't look so amazing anymore. So again, you have to really pick and choose on which direction you want to go, who you surround yourself with, and who you take constructive criticism from. And then try to intermix that with some of the comments that you get on social media. And then you try to find like a balance point of improvements you can make. But it's always easier said than done, right? Because we'll have to take the hypercritical good comments and the hypercritical bad comments and the hypercritical constructive criticism comments. We'll have to put them all under a microscope and then assess which ones of those we're going to let through. Because you shouldn't let all the comments go through, whether that's on social media or in real life, because not everybody has the credentials or the background or the information or the kindness intent for your own best interest with the comments they put on you, right? Maybe they have incredibly high standards that they hold you accountable to that are not really applicable to you as an individual. So I think the first step in hypercritical nature at which we look at ourselves is to not let all the comments go through. And it's something that I'm slowly learning as I'm on social media and getting a little bit more following in the process. Because in the beginning, I would take all those comments to heart. Man, the good with the bad. You know, the good that will kind of inflate my ego, and then the bad comment would kind of bring it back down, right? It's kind of like a roller coaster. Good comments and then bad. And then good comments and then bad. And now I'm a little bit more seasoned, a little bit more weathered. And I look at those comments, or, whether that happens in the real world or on social media, I always kind of put them through a filter. What have you accomplished? Where are you in life? Have you accomplished comparable things as I do? And I only like the comments through of the people that I respect. And it's very hard to respect other people on social media, whether that are people that you follow or that are following you, because we don't really know each other. And again, there's always a wall of separation. And in that wall of separation, it's very easy to pass judgment, but it's almost impossible to bring that wall closer. Now, it will be impossible for me to have an interaction with the 25,000 subscribers, or 26, I think 26 subscribers already, and then another 10,000 on Instagram. Right? It would be impossible for me to interact with everybody directly on a personal basis, to allow some of the good comments, the bad comments, and the constructive criticism comments that are all hypercritical in one way or another through. So I do a little bit of a filter process, and I'm sure many of the, people that are somewhat famous in the fitness industry, I mean, it will never be real world famous. It's just well known in the fitness industry, right? Semi-famous. I'm sure most of those guys just only let the comments through that they're coming from their peers, because the constructive criticism or the hypercritical comments that you get from your peers, those you can actually incorporate for your own self-improvement. And it really depends, of course, who it's coming from, because a comment from Sean Ray is not going to be as constructive and overly hypercritical compared to a comment that might come from somebody else, like a John Meadows or Scott Stevenson, or other people who are a little bit more positive in their approach. So you always have to put everything through a filter when you receive comments, hypercritical comments, whether they're good, bad, or constructive criticism. you should still let some of the criticism through, because otherwise you put yourself into the pedestal and you surround yourself with yes men, and that's a very good way to fall off the deep end and somehow glorify whatever you're doing. It's something you definitely don't want. Always stay leveled, right? And hopefully over time you're not so hypercritical towards yourself. And to enforce this selective hearing, to receive hypercritical comments of people that you respect, your peers, people that have accomplished similar things as you do, you can kind of enforce that by looking at yourself differently as well. And stop fixating on everything that's wrong and appreciating things that you've accomplished so far. Because there's always room for improvement. And if you glorify yourself and you put yourself in a pedestal, you probably don't think that there's something to improve. But being a little bit more humble is also an improvement when you, again, put yourself on the pedestal. So a little bit of humility is an improvement. But in most cases, a financial improvement, or being a better person in your relationship, or being a better person in the content that you provide on YouTube, if you're on social media, for example. Right? There's always room for improvement. It's not always about particular body parts or body fat or hair or a pimple or all these negligible, top level, actually it's bottom level, right? It's bottom level issues that you perceive yourself to have. You can just forgo it. And maybe as you get older, you start to overlook some of those things. Oh, I have a pimple, whatever. Oh, I got a bad haircut. Whatever. I did it myself. The barbers are closed, right? This is all DIY. It's really. But some guys are hypercritical of this hairdo. I just let it fly. It doesn't bother me anymore. It used to, but it doesn't anymore. Really. I'm considering to shave it again though, because it's hot in Thailand, and I'm getting the itch to bodybuild 100% again. Anyway, we'll save that for a different video. So, the way we look at ourselves, we can also a little bit manipulate and just go with a positive outlook instead of looking at everything that we should be improving and fixating on those. Just be happy with what you got and try to improve whatever you feel that you don't have yet. Because at one point, you should get to that point. And again, if you don't get what you wanted after 20 years, well, there's always side enhancement oil or plastic surgery, right? Now that we kind of reformulated how we look at ourselves and how we allow others to be hypercritical of us, we still have to put that filter up. And when we're hypercritical of others. So instead of just blurting everything out like I used to do, put it through a filter first. Maybe bounce it back a couple times. You bounce it against the filter, and then it bounces back, and you reformulate. You do it a couple times, and then you come up with a sentence or a way to formulate it that it's not received as being hypercritical, but you still get your message across for that person to take something from that, what he wants, in an attempt to improve himself. Again, not everybody has the same high standards. I mean, it would be unwise for me to hold everybody accountable to moving countries and, being self-employed, right? I can't hold the entire world accountable to that, even though I was able to succeed in that. I moved countries, married a local, reasonably successful in business, right? I can't hold everybody accountable to these high standards because it might be completely unreachable for somebody else. I mean, many of my old friends still live in Holland, and they haven't accomplished this in any way, shape, or form. But they're still happy, and they're still successful in other aspects of their lives. So you always have to put everything through a filter, whether you receive or hand out, because the other person might not understand where you're coming from, and you might even not understand where this other person is coming from as well. Now, I don't think that the hypercritical nature of the fitness industry will ever change. I think, the constructive criticism and the bad comments will always be there because we communicate through social media. But when we interact in real life, that usually goes away. Just like how I changed my tune about Boston Lloyd after interacting with him. And I think some of you guys will get the same feeling when you get an opportunity to interact with me in real life. Now, most of the comments are always highly respectful, enjoyable to read, but sometimes there's a couple hypercritical ones in there that I, again, get better and better and better at filtering at Maybe some of you guys will get to interact with me in the real world at one point or another when you come to Thailand for a holiday, or maybe you're already in Thailand, but we haven't had an opportunity to interact. And then you realize, you know what, this Steve guy is actually pretty nice. He answered all my questions and he was very helpful and enjoyable to talk to. And then you understand exactly what I talked about in this video. Really hope this helps, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're looking for the most comprehensive guides to bodybuilding pharmacology, you can find the ebooks on my website, vigoroussteve.com/shop. Looking for personalized advice, you can find the rates to my services in the services section. Follow me on Instagram at VigorSteve. Vigorous crew, you guys know what to do. Smash that like button. Look at these biceps, but don't be too hypercritical of the lack of volume. Don't worry, that shit will return at one point or another. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys in the next video.